Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Chase, and I'm here with Rachel Lopez today. And we thought we'd do a video out here so that you guys could listen to our conversation and enjoy some really beautiful monsoon weather. Rachel wanted to talk today about an experience that she had with cancer, so I'm just really going to let her do that. And we are out where these guys do some off-roading and motorcycle racing, so if you hear a little bit of that, we'll just deal with that later. So, Rachel, I was thinking that we could start with your story about how you found out, what kind of cancer, and also if you feel like saying why you felt like doing this.
Okay. So I was scheduled my annual exam in January. I had moved to Kansas City and, of course, set up all my doctor's appointments and kind of forgot that I had scheduled that one. And they called to remind me, and when they called to remind me, I thought, I'm not going. I'm healthy. I'm not going to go. And so I really wasn't going to go. And then I was thinking, well, I haven't done a self-exam in a while, so maybe I should do a self-exam just in case. So I got in the shower and did a self-exam, and I felt something. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to the appointment. So the appointment was the next day, and I went, and I was lucky enough to have a fantastic doctor, and
That's great.
let her know that I found something, and immediately she said, well, let's just go ahead and, you're close enough to 40, let's go ahead and have a mammogram. Well, they scheduled the mammogram for the same day, so that kind of heightened my awareness one level, and so I went to go get the mammogram. And from the mammogram, they had like a dressing room area where I kind of waited for them to call me in. And then, so they called me in, we did the mammogram, and I went back to the dressing room area and sat there and waited. Well, after some time, they came back and said, well, we need another set of pictures. So I had to go back again. So again, that heightened it a little bit more, made me a little bit more concerned. And then I went back to the dressing room and waited. Then they came back and said, okay, we're going to do an ultrasound now. So then we go to the third level.
All in one day.
Yes, all in one day. So we went to go get the ultrasound, and, I kind of noticed that the gal was checking in the area that I had felt something. I felt a lump in the middle of my right breast. And, well, then I kind of noticed that she was checking somewhere else, too. In the back of my mind the whole time, I'm thinking, it's okay. This is they probably just found something. It's probably nothing. It's okay. And so then the radiologist came in and to decipher the results with me, and he says, well, he's like, the lump that you found is nothing. We're not concerned about that at all, but we did find another area that we're concerned about. And I said, really? And I was like, and I'm still not thinking, in my mind, I wasn't taking him serious because I was thinking, but you don't have a test in front of you or results to try to say whether it is or it's not. So I'm just going to listen to what you say and take it with a grain of salt, because not until, I'm a salesperson. So not until I get my money in the bank do I realize it's, am I going to believe it's there. But he said, this is how he said it to me. He said, I'll be completely honest with you. I would be very surprised if it's not cancer. And that's how he told me. And so then I thought, well, you don't know for sure because you don't have a test saying it. So this is how I'm rationalizing it in my mind. But then at the same time, I kind of felt like I heard that sound that you hear when you just hear bells ringing, and I just heard beep. That's all I could hear in my ears. And I was just like, and they're both just looking at me, the assistant and the radiologist. And I was just like, okay, well, how do we figure out what's going on? My mind goes into attack, drive, let's figure this out. What's going on, So he's like, okay, well, we're going to do a biopsy. We have to wait a week for a biopsy. Just schedule it. And then we go from there. And so I said, okay. So I go out to check out, and I hand the lady the paper that they gave me, and we schedule the biopsy, and I see the doctor walk by, and he's like, And I was all, oh my God. That was when I realized it. Because I could see that he felt bad. He was like, I'm sorry. Like, when he was waving, like, I'm sorry, you know? And I was like, that was the moment where I was like, he's seen 1,000 tests. He knows what it looks like. You know, that was kind of like the moment where I was like, I don't need to see the paper. Like, he knows. I could tell he knows. So, you know, I went and left and then just tried to process, and I called my sister, and my sister saved my life. Because my sister was like,
hi, Elaine, that's you. What did she say?
she was like, don't panic, it's okay. It happens. She was like, cancer is more common than what you think. The doctors and everyone makes a bigger deal out of it, than what it is. She was like, no matter what it is, we'll take care of it. I'll help you. We'll take care of it. It doesn't matter what the tests say. I'll take care of you. We'll take care of it, Rachel. We can fight this. We can fight this. And she was like, it's so common, Rachel. She just kept saying, it's so common. It's like, it's $1 billion industry. They make it worse than what it is. It's not a big deal. She kept saying that. It's not a big deal. And I remember thinking, Elaine, it's cancer, you know? But my sister's the one that I was here. And my sister was like keeping me here. She was like, it's not a big deal. It's Rachel, I promise you, it's not a big deal. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna deal with it. And she saved my life. She kept me from jumping off that deep end. She's the one that saved me. So from there, I guess, you know, the process of begins. That was a rough weekend. I pretty much cried all weekend because up until that point, the only thing I ever really knew about cancer was stage 4, suffering, and death. That's it. I was completely ignorant to cancer. My father had prostate cancer, but they had surgery to remove his prostate, and that was it. It was gone. We never really dealt with any type of treatment or anything like that. So I hadn't never really had anybody that close to me, you know. So that whole weekend I just thought I was going to die. You know, even though my sister was telling me it's okay, in the back of my mind I'm thinking, you know, honestly, I thought about all the times I had ever been sad and depressed, and all the times I had ever thought I don't want to be here anymore. And in that moment, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not ready. I need to see what my son becomes. Like, I need to see. We're getting to the good part. This is the part we've been waiting on. My baby's about to, you know, he's 19. He's becoming a man. He's going to, you know, go into his career. This is what I've been waiting to see, is the man that he becomes. I'm not ready to go anywhere. And then I thought, how is my baby going to take this? How is me and my son are? Anybody who knows me, they know how close me and my boy are. And I just worried for him. Like, how is he going to deal with this? Like, how is he going to be able to handle this? You know, because at that point I still had no idea what was to come.
Yeah.
Okay? So it was a rough weekend, and then I kept going back and forth between my fighter mode and my fighter, like, oh well, it is what it is, we deal with it, we move forward. And what is going on? I think I might die, you know? So then when we had the biopsy, then I had to wait another week to get the results. Again, I was lucky enough to have another good doctor that, you know, since I'm in sales, it's all about presentation. So the other doctor sold me by saying, when he presented it to me, he says, it's a small piece of cancer. You're going to have it removed and you're going to be just fine. He was like, you're going to have surgery. It's a small cancer. He never said, you have cancer, which was awesome to me because it kind of kept me separate from the cancer, you know. So I remember I left that day, called Elaine and told her, and she's like, okay, well, we just deal with it. We just keep moving, you know, and that's all I kept thinking, because at this point, you know, 2 weeks later, I had time to process and kind of come back more to the fighter side. don't get me wrong, though. I wavered
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And so then I went and saw the surgeon. We set a date for the surgery. One thing led to another. Time is still going on. In the back of my mind, I'm still thinking I really don't know what's going to happen. And the type of person I am, that's hard for me. I like a plan. I like a strategy, And so to me, for not knowing what was going to happen, that was kind of difficult. But we had the surgery, and my sister went to Kansas City to be with me. And I was lucky enough to have my best friend Julie out there, and the guy I was dating at the time was out there. So I had and my son, of course, my right-hand man was out there. So I had a great support system, and they all took care of me as much as I let them. But
So how did your son take it?
So, thank you for reminding me of that part. So, I tried not to tell. I tried to hold it from him as long as I could, because I wanted to be able to tell him about a positive outcome, and I wanted to be able to tell him about, the strategy, and not just the problem, but the solution.
The solution.
So
That is your personality.
yes. So he took it really hard. He was really upset, and I tried to keep him from diving off the deep end. It's gonna be okay. I was completely calm when I told him, look, this is what's happening. It's gonna be okay. Whatever, I just kind of told him, and he started trying to freak out, and I just kept telling him, it's going to be okay, son. I swear it's going to be okay. Auntie Lane tells me it's going to be okay, and I believe it's going to be okay. So it's going to be okay. And, but I know that he struggled with it, I know he had conversations with friends and family, and I know that he broke down several times because of it. And, it's just all the uncertainty of it was what was so hard. So we did the lumpectomy, had it removed. They said that it was good. They removed 2 lymph nodes, and they tested the lymph nodes in the surgery, and there was no cancer in the lymph nodes, which helped them categorize me stage 1. Again, like I said, I was completely ignorant to all the stages 1 and 2 and 3 and what the difference was between them up until this point. So stage 1, they caught it early. We get rid of it good. So then they decided to do a bunch of genetic testing to see if it ran in the family to figure out what my course of treatment would be, because if it was genetic, then they definitely wanted to take a more aggressive approach towards the treatment. So I was negative for the genetic testing, which was very good. There's, a couple of variances in the genetics that they were concerned about that put me at a higher risk, but not as high as if I would have tested positive for the BRCA gene. And there's 2 tests with that, the BRCA1 and 2. But I was negative for both of those. So they decided that radiation would be the next treatment. But I will say that the waiting until that genetic testing took forever. I think it took 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks, because they sent a sample off to a lab in California, and then 2 weeks later they said that wasn't a sufficient sample. So they had to send another sample, so we had to wait another 3 weeks. And that was the hardest part, was waiting, because I knew that depending on those results was going to decide if I had chemotherapy or just chemotherapy and radiation, or just radiation. So that waiting game, all that uncertainty, that I was going out of my mind at that time. I think that was probably like the darkest time for me. That was the hardest time. I was probably pretty depressed. I wasn't leaving the house. I was secluding myself from people. I was like...
So you hadn't told anyone yet?
Well, no, oh, thank you for reminding me. It's a good thing you're keeping me on track. I did tell a few people. So I told my best friend, I told my son, I told my sister. I hadn't told my parents yet. So then I told one of my close friends that works with me that there's a possibility. I think I told her before I actually found out about the cancer, and then whenever I did find out about it, I did tell her that I was diagnosed, but I told her not to tell anyone because I was embarrassed. I didn't realize how much of an ego, I guess, or how much pride that I had until this happened to me, So I told her, but I said, please don't say anything because I'm embarrassed and I don't want people to feel sorry for me.
Do you want to talk about why you were embarrassed, or is that what you just said? Because you didn't want people to feel sorry for you?
I think I just was like, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I don't want people to look down on me. I don't want people to... That was hard for me. Even coming back to my old job and people who had heard through the grapevine about it and looking in people's eyes, and when they're like, oh, welcome back, and people, I can tell by looking in their eyes that they felt sorry for me, and then when people would ask about it, or if I would mention it and they didn't know, I caught myself having to convince people that it's okay. It's okay.
Right. I remember you were saying that you were trying to calm them down.
Yeah. So I would tell people and they would be, oh my gosh, the reaction. Now I know that it is a shock because cancer is scary, and you don't hear about stage 1 and people surviving and living a normal life. You don't hear about that. You hear about stage 4 and people suffering, and so there's so many times, more times than I can count, where I would say something or someone would ask and someone would be next to them and be like, oh my gosh, oh, are you okay? And I'm so sorry. And I can tell that they're genuinely concerned, but just the reaction in itself is like, slow down, like, it's okay. Look, we caught it early. We got it removed. I have to do this radiation, but it's okay. It's okay, And then, it's really true what they say, that when you go through hard times, you really see who really cares, because people who really cared stood by my side and were concerned and would ask me. I have a couple people at work that were always like, how are you feeling? Are you doing okay? How are you feeling today? Then I had people at work who suddenly, we were so close in the past, who suddenly didn't talk to me anymore, who suddenly made it very uncomfortable to have a conversation. I'm like, I'm still me. It's still me in here. Like, I had something happen to me, but I'm still me. So that was hard because I can think of one person in particular that I really looked up to and that helped me a lot with my career, that suddenly we have nothing to talk about anymore. So that was hard for me. But, I don't know. I don't know.
So, the other thing that you were saying that you wanted to talk about is what not to say to you.
Yeah.
And
well, not just me in particular.
Right. But what not to say.
Right. So I think that sometimes people just don't think about what they say. I think we all know that. And, I have been guilty of that in the past.
Yeah.
I am not a perfect
Me
person,
too.
so please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But I definitely think that people should really try to think about what they say to someone. So some of the things that have been said to me are that really bothered me. I had one guy say, oh, I just heard, sorry. And it's like, look, on his perspective, I think, he probably felt obligated to say something. But kind of like I was telling you earlier, if we don't have a relationship, you're not obligated to say anything. You don't have to. Just say nothing. It's actually probably better if you don't say anything at all, One of the other things that has been said to me, that was said quite often, was, oh, my sister died of breast cancer. Or, oh, my aunt died of cancer. And just cancer in general. Oh, I had somebody that died of cancer. And it's like, I'm in the middle of going through radiation therapy for this, So I ended up having to go through 4 weeks, basically 22 treatments of radiation treatment. So it was every day for about 20 minutes that I would go in every day. And so, I was in the middle of going through this and I would hear these things and it's just like, So that one why, I don't really understand why. Why would you... No. The only thing I can think of is that, yes, they see that I still look normal, and they know that it's removed and I don't technically have cancer anymore. But still, like, I'm still going through it. Like, why would you say that? I don't understand what the thought process is behind it. And then probably the one that makes me even more mad, even more than that one, the thing that probably would irk me the most was when people would tell me that I should be lucky.
Yeah, that one's...
Yeah, or you're lucky that you caught it, you know, and you're lucky. You should be thankful, or you should be grateful that it's not, it wasn't more advanced. Again, if you're a friend of mine and you're on my Facebook, then you would have seen that I had already posted that 100 times.
Yeah.
You know, but even if you weren't, again, why would you say that? Like, what is your thought? So what does that mean? Does that mean, oh, I should be lucky that I had cancer, but it just was, you know, like, I don't feel lucky that I have cancer, that I had it. I don't feel grateful that I had cancer. Maybe in the future, when I look back at this and I see how this has affected my life more and how it's changed me, then maybe I can be grateful for it. But right now, I'm not grateful for having cancer at all. I am grateful that it was not as far as advanced as other people. I did even go through a period of time when I was going through radiation treatment, and I would go in and sit in the waiting room, you know, because we would have to go into a different waiting room and put a gown on, and then there's other women. It's the women's waiting room, and there's a men's waiting room. And there's other women in there. All older women. I was the youngest one there. And I see women struggling. I see them not all different types of cancer, all different stages. And I see the women without hair looking at my hair and being like... So then I even felt guilty for having hair. I felt guilty that I did not go through chemotherapy. I felt bad because it was like they probably hate me because I'm sitting here and I'm not, as bad off as that. It's just a bunch of different emotions to try to process, you know? And that was hard. Probably the first week of radiation was very hard for me coming across. I have a tendency to jump into things without thinking them all the way through. Sometimes that's a positive thing and sometimes it's a negative thing. I will say that I have, done some of the coolest things in my life by doing that. But this was one of those where I kind of just jumped into it. I was honestly excited to start radiation because I'm excited to start the beginning of that last chapter of finishing this and being done. I was excited to go through with the plan and the execution of the strategy to be complete.
The sooner I start it, the sooner it'll be done.
Yes. So I remember Elaine went with me the very first day. Elaine, she would drive all the way from the South Valley, all the way to Rust, as often as she could, just to sit there in the waiting room for 20 minutes, 30 minutes while I would go in there. And I would tell her, sister, you don't have to do this. And she would, I know, but I want to, So, she took good care of me, my thither. Call her my thither. But, so the radiation was, it was funny on the last day of the radiation. It was actually pretty cool because, because I'm a talker. I got to know the staff. And the last day I was so excited. I was like, this is my last day. I was so excited about my last day. So I go in and they're like, it's your last day. And when I walk in, the ladies at the front are like, hey, it's your last treatment. And I go in there. And so I go in the last treatment. And the last week was rough because, the first 3 weeks of treatment, they did the entire breast. And then the last week, they did the focused area on just the cancer itself. So what that included was putting a round, see-through, like a clear plastic plate on my breast and smashing it, which it's already in a lot of pain because the radiation stirs up all the scar tissue that's in there. So it feels very hard inside, like the tissue is just very hardened, So smashing the pressure was very painful. And then, the setup of this, I had to have a separate appointment to set up for them to draw the map of where they were going to do it and everything. Well, there's 5 techs out of all those 5 the radiation techs. They 2 of them were men. One was an older gentleman and one was a younger gentleman. And for some reason I got so lucky that on the setup of the last week, it was those 2 guys that I had to lay there with my arm up and my breast out while they push the plate there and draw the map of where they're going to be lining the machine up. And that appointment was hard because I started to cry and I was trying to hold it in. But I played college basketball, and after our basketball games, everyone would go to the showers and shower. I wouldn't shower because I never wanted anybody to see me naked. I'm not that type of person. And now I feel like half of New Mexico and half of Kansas City have seen my breasts. But anyway, so they're taking everything off on the last appointment, taking everything in. Oh, what are you going to do to celebrate? And blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I thought about coming in here and flipping you guys off. And I said, but you guys have been so darn nice to me, I can't even flip you off and feel okay about it. And one of the gals says, that's okay, we won't take it personal. You can go ahead and do it. Go ahead and flip us off. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. But every time I drive by, I flip off Russ. Every time I drive by, I'm just like, throwing the finger. So it makes me feel better.
Good.
But anyway, so it brings us to today. I finished the radiation treatment. Today's I think I'm about 3 weeks out from my last appointment. And so next Friday I have a follow-up for the 4-week checkup. And this week is the first week of me feeling like myself again, where I don't think that I realized how crappy I was feeling while I was going through radiation because, halfway through everything, I had someone come up to me and say, who's someone who kind of knows me, who has a similar personality to me at work, and she says, do you feel like you're just on autopilot, just kind of going through everything? And at that time, I was like, I think, yeah, maybe, but I couldn't really put a finger on it. But, hindsight's 20/20. So looking back at it, I think, I was totally on autopilot. I had no idea really how it was affecting me until now. I can look back and say it because I feel good again. Like I'm feeling like myself again. I still have a lot of pain, but I'm feeling normal. I feel happy again. I'm feeling my joy coming back. I'm feeling like my energy's back. I just feel like myself again. So I'm looking back and thinking, man, I was in a haze. I feel like I was just in a haze on autopilot. Things weren't sticking. I don't think I was firing on all cylinders,
For sure.
But it's awesome now because I feel like, all right, I'm ready. Time to move and shake. Time to keep moving. Time to figure out what's my next plan. What's my, what's my next attack? Yeah. What's my next goal? What am I going to, work towards now?
Yeah.
So.
I know you and Elaine kind of talked about it, or you and your sister kind of talked about it, but I know you say a lot about your story on your Facebook page. Why did you feel like you wanted to make a video? What was your thing about it?
Well, I had originally said to Elaine, I think I'm going to write like a blog about what not to say to people.
Yeah.
And Elaine's the one that was like, oh, let's make a video.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, awareness. Okay, so awareness for so many different areas of breast cancer. Awareness that, number one, for women to check themselves. I want every woman that I know, please just check yourself. The follow-up thing I get is, well, what am I looking for? Well, that's why you should check yourself every day. Once a week, at least, because when you get to know what your breasts feel like, then when you feel something that feels wrong or doesn't feel like it should be there, then you're going to know.
See, Rachel, I've never had anybody say it to me like that. That's a great way to say it. If you're touching yourself every day or checking every day, then you're going to know when something's different.
Right.
No one's ever said it to me like that before.
And
that's such a great way.
Because, they changes throughout the month.
Right.
You change throughout the month. And so it's important to get to know so that way you
That's such a great way to think about it.
So that's one area of awareness. I think the other area of awareness is to educate yourself and learn the stages, and understand the differences between all the stages. And of course the follow-up to that would be to learn what to say to people. And sometimes knowing that you don't have to say anything. It's not your responsibility to say anything. sometimes your presence is enough. Sometimes a touch, you know, sometimes a hug, you know, anything. If there's no relationship already there, you're not obligated. You're off the hook. You don't have to say anything. You know, just... I just feel like the people... When I think about everybody that's been in my life and all of the support, I've had a tremendous amount of support. I'm so grateful. Because again, when I think about the hard times in my life and I think about the times that I've ever felt all alone and that nobody cares, which I know I can't be the only one that feels like that at times.
No
you know?
way. But it does feel like that when you're feeling like that, huh?
Yeah, it does. But I think people do care. And, you know, there's genuine concern, and then there's not genuine concern, and it's very obvious. Yeah. So, like, if you're not genuinely concerned, it's okay. You don't have to be. You're not obligated. Just don't say anything.
Okay.
It's okay, you know?
I think that's big, too, because I think people don't know what to do. So I think it's nice. I like what you said. Don't say anything. Mm-hmm. Or just, if you don't know what to say, just touch somebody.
I think touch
And I
is
think,
a lot.
too, just be present, you know?
Just present. Yep. Yeah. And then the last thing I think is just awareness of, like I was saying, I think just do research on where you're going to donate your money. Do research on the charities and organizations that you donate money, because it's important just to know where your money's going, you know. So, I'm still in the process of doing that. I'm not quite there yet. So, you know, I'm still dealing with all of the feelings and emotions, and I was in a relationship when this all happened. I'm no longer in that relationship. I don't know how much this factored into the relationship not working. I'm sure it was a tremendous amount, but I'm still just processing everything. And, you know, I think that I've been through a lot. I've lived a lot of life. I'll be 40 next Tuesday, and I've lived a lot. I was thinking that this morning. I have lived a lot of life in 40 years. But I think I'm just trying to still process it myself. And all I know is that in my mind, I just know, you know, people say, oh, you're so strong, you're so strong. Really, I don't feel like I'm that strong. In my mind, the only thing that I know is that there's no option to give up. Like, what am I going to do? Just lay down and stop? It's stage 1. Like, there's no option to just give up. I understand that different people at different stages have different perspectives on how they approach their treatment. But I'm like, I was stage 1. I'm not going to just decide to quit on life. Like, I'm going to keep on keeping on. Yeah. This is a speed bump, you know, a speed bump in my life. And it has been a tremendous learning experience. So, and I do think that I am different from it. I think that I'm very different from it. My manager jokingly called me Rachel 2.0, and I was like, I like that. I like that I'm Rachel 2.0, because I think that I see things a lot differently now, you know. And something I keep telling people is, tomorrow's not promised. You don't ever know. And I can honestly tell you that in the last 8 months of my life, I have never considered death more than in the last 8 months of my life. And sure, people talk about, jokingly, they're like, oh, I'm dead, right? That's the new thing nowadays. Oh, I'm dead, because something's so funny. And people are like, oh, you better not do that, I'll kill you. And, you know, we throw death around so loosely, but when you really have to think, oh my God, I might not be here anymore. How was that going to look? Like, what does this mean? All of those things that you really consider of, like, what happens when I'm gone? Like, I have to get my shit together, you know? Like, all of those thoughts. I've never thought so much about that than in the last 8 months of my life. But because of that, because of thinking of that, I think now, man, I gotta live. I have got to live, you know? I have got to go out and do stuff and do the things I've always wanted to do, see the things I've always wanted to see. It might not be the most responsible thing, but at the same time, tomorrow is not promised, you know?
And so it seems like a lot of people say that over coffee, but you're living that.
I do feel like I am living it. And I think the last thing that I learned is that I don't think that I would ever want anyone to have to take care of me. You know? I don't think that I would ever want that. When I think about, because I've had to think about death, I think about when I wouldn't want somebody to sacrifice their life having to take care of me. I would want somebody to do something crazy in honor of me. Like, I would want somebody to go skydiving or go, parasailing or go deep sea diving or something amazing, and be like, you know what, I know Rachel would do this, so that's why I want to do this, is because Rachel would do this, Yeah. So that's kind of like, that's it. That's
I love that. All right. Well, is that it?
Yep, that's it. I appreciate you allowing me to share my I guess I had a lot to share. I didn't realize I had to share.
I'm glad you did. And if you guys have anything that you want to share about your experiences with that, I think Rachel would love to hear what your experience was, if you went through something similar. And we'll just look forward to you sharing any thoughts you have from your heart, and with compassion and respect. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.